Hey, it's Lindsay, and I wanted to remind you that CityCast is doing our annual listener survey. It just takes a few minutes, and you could win a $250 Visa gift card or CityCast swag. Head over to citycast.fm/survey. That's citycast.fm/survey. Today on CityCast Boise. Running a business that helps women explore swinging would be taboo in most places, but doing it in conservative Boise, that's another level. So we're quietly swiping on the Unicorn Landing app and exploring the contradictions it exposes in Idaho's culture. It's Thursday, August 21st. I'm Lindsay Van Allen, and this is what Boise's talking about. Joining me today is Candace, owner and founder of Unicorn Landing. Thanks so much for being here today.
Hi.
So for someone who's never heard of Unicorn Landing, what is it and maybe what isn't it?
So Unicorn Landing is it's an app. It's a dating style platform app that was created for women in the ethically non-monogamous, swinger, poly, kind of that umbrella lifestyle to connect with other women. So it was kind of started because a lot of the platforms that were out there for like ethical non-monogamy, the swinger lifestyle, are very male driven. And a lot of women had a hard time, connecting with people on there and felt uncomfortable, bombarded by men, things like that. So yeah, and it's for all, whether you're just looking for friends in the lifestyle, you're looking for like single women, other couples, like anything you're looking for, just a safe place for women to connect.
So what's maybe one of the most wildly wrong assumptions that people make when they hear that you run a sexual lifestyle company and app?
That it is sex lifestyle, but I think what people don't realize is it's not always all about sex. A lot of it is women that are kind of just like exploring their sexuality, even with their own partner, kind of opening their doors maybe to non-monogamy, but having, or just kind of these spicier open conversations with their partner, but also just kind of wanting to make friends and feel like they're not so alone with these thoughts and feelings, and just kind of like an open-minded community. People, it's funny because people just assume like, oh, you're swingers, or oh, like you have these apps, you just must sleep with people all the time. Like it's just a free for all. It's dirty. It's gross. And that couldn't be further from the truth for the majority of people that are in the lifestyle, with the actual amount that they do actually hook up with people. For me, it's just been so great to have a like-minded community.
And what kind of reactions have you gotten from people who find out that you're running a business like that in Boise?
So honestly, not as negative as you would think. So I've actually, there's definitely been, I'm a little careful about who I tell, what I do. I keep my business to myself. I'm very involved in like the community, like school, like the kids' school programs, things like that. So I'm careful who I say, because I just don't want to give off the wrong message. But people, because of social media, there are people that have come across what I do, have seen my stuff, and you would be surprised. I'll be out and about and I will run into somebody, Boise's a small town. So I would be at like a concert or something, and I would run into somebody who I haven't seen since high school or in years. And they would be like, I just want you to know that I love what you're doing. And even if they're not involved in it, they see the positive out, the need for it, things like that. So I've actually not really received a ton of hate. I mean, of course, there's been the few comments from maybe some, religious or conservative, like family members, things like that. But even our families kind of know. And it just, yeah, you don't talk about that kind of stuff with your family. So not as negative as you would think.
That's honestly really surprising to me, because Boise feels like a very kind of button-up town. It's very conservative overall. And so I am surprised to hear that you haven't felt, judged or iced out because of your business.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be a little isolating. So it's not that I've really received negativity, but I think because I have made myself public about what I do, you would be shocked how many people do what I do, or curious about it, or go to events, or tiptoe in it with their partner, anything like that. You would be shocked, conservative or not. But people don't live it out loud like I do, and so publicly. And so I think it has kind of isolated me in the fact that people, like, it's kind of made that's become my identity. And some people are a little bit hesitant to maybe like be openly friends with me if they're not openly in the lifestyle. So it has done that. But honestly, yeah, I don't. And who knows what people are saying behind my back or to people around them. But nobody's really come to my face besides, of course, there's like the trolls on the internet. But in our local community, I haven't faced a ton of backlash, to be completely honest. I mean, Boise itself can be a little conservative and not a little more open-minded in certain places of Boise, and I'm fortunate enough to live in those areas. um, I just also do a really good job of protecting it because I want to protect my children and my family. So I don't
Yeah.
just broadcast it into the open community. If you're not in the lifestyle or looking for it, it's typically hard to find me.
Candace, is there a part of you that enjoys being involved in a business that's maybe a little more provocative in Boise? Or is it just something where you're like, this is just my job, this is just work, and you're tired of being quiet about something that's just a normal part of your life?
Yeah, so I do enjoy what I do. I mean, I obviously had a passion behind it. That's why I started this business. I think, again, it can be a little bit isolating in a small town. If I feel like if I lived in maybe a bigger metropolitan city, more of a blue state, something with just a bigger lifestyle community, I might have more of a local community and local connections. A lot of my connections and business connections are all online, but I've been doing this for 3 years. And so I don't see I mean, yes, we get to go to events and do some things, but to me, it's a business now. Like, I run a business, I've got marketing team, I've got developers. It's kind of isolating and lonely on the back end, just like any small business. And sometimes I forget, I think because I'm so used to doing it, that it is so like sex driven or lifestyle or provocative, because it is such a part of like who I am now. And so, yeah, maybe if I lived, I think it would be nice to have a bigger community just locally. And there is a little bit of a lifestyle community locally, but bigger cities, I think it would be a little more well received.
You mentioned that this lifestyle, non-monogamy, swinging is popular in conservative circles. So, in a paradoxical way, do you think that maybe being based in a conservative place like Boise actually helps your business?
So my target market for my business tends to be, a lot of the women that I've talked to that are just stay-at-home moms or career women, or, it's almost kind of like a little secret they have, either alone or with their partner. And so, it kind of gives them an outlet and a safe place. And then, on our platform, you don't have to put your name. You can put an emoji over your face. Like, you don't have to show yourself. And so I think it does give people kind of a safe place to have that outlet and meet like-minded other people, that they wouldn't normally know where to find those. Like if you're having it's hard to open up to maybe your vanilla, which we call people that aren't in the lifestyle, vanilla people. It's kind of hard to open up to any of your friends about this topic. There might be something you and your husband do, but it's nice to have girlfriends or someone to talk to. So I think it is nice that, because we don't have just a ton of like clubs and different things that you can go to here locally, to have somewhere that people can really meet, a like-minded girlfriend and just talk about it, even if it's never taken any further than a conversation. So I think it is really refreshing for women. I've met a lot of women in Idaho, Utah, very conservative areas, who have never even done anything. They just have had the conversations with their partners and just have loved to kind of just say it out loud and talk to people about it. So I do think it helps to have things like this in a conservative area, because not everybody's going to live by, societal standards.
Need a reset or just a chance to slow down? Trade the traffic and to-do lists for a glass of wine and an open sky at Walla Walla. Just a scenic 4-hour drive from Boise, this peaceful destination in the heart of the Pacific Northwest offers a true escape from your hectic schedule. You'll have the opportunity to wander through more than 130 wineries nestled among golden hills and vineyards, and then cozy up in a tasting room. You can stroll through the charming historic downtown by day, and at night, dine al fresco on meals made by celebrated chefs from fresh ingredients grown just down the road on local farms. Come discover why Walla Walla is one of the Pacific Northwest's best-kept secrets. You don't have to go far to feel far away. Plan your getaway at wallawalla.org today. And how has running your business changed how you see our community?
I think for me, it's been shocking that we do have, kind of both sides of the community here in Boise, but a lot of the hypocrisy of people that do live very conservatively religious, put other members of the LGBTQ community down, and then they're actively involved in the lifestyle. And for me, I just don't understand that. I just cannot understand how you can be so judgmental out loud and then live such a secret life. There's a lot of secret lives happening. And for me, I guess it's just been kind of eye opening, and it makes you angry because it's like, how can you, say these things and be against, human rights, but then you're out here living oppositely. I don't know. So I guess for me, it's just been kind of eye opening to see that, but then also see such a part of it that is such an opening, welcoming community, the people that you had no idea, and how many people there really are that that are part of the lifestyle and are open to it and accepting. So yeah, I think I've seen both sides of it.
It really sounds like two very different eye-opening things. One is hypocrisy of people who live very openly, very conservatively, and that involves not supporting LGBTQ people or
Yeah.
LGBTQ rights.
Women rights, all those things. Yeah.
But then behind closed doors, they're fine, I guess, engaging in sexual acts with other women or with other men.
Yes, no, 100%. They're the bi-curious, bisexual world is pretty prevalent in the lifestyle community. And so when people are out there, it's like they're okay with doing it in like a fantasy degrading sort of way, but yet when it's people who actually love and care for other people, that's where they draw the line. I don't know. So for that part, I think I don't quite understand. But again, the way that people live their lives is not my business. And that's the point, is that everybody should be able to live their life the exact way they want to if they're not hurting anybody.
So with these conservative circles that you're talking about, where you say, it's fairly widespread or more widespread than maybe people would imagine, that people are secretly engaging with non-monogamy, what do you think keeps them from being open about it?
So that's a great question, because a lot of people will reach out and say, oh my God, what do you do if your kids find out? What do you do if your family knows? And I think so people are so terrified, I think, of being shunned by their community, by their families, like not living up to expectations. And a lot of it, will stem from religious trauma, religious families. You would be surprised about the number of Mormons, ex-Mormons in the lifestyle community, mostly ex-Mormons, but, people that are very afraid of their families finding out. And so that's, I think, their biggest fear, is just being shunned by their communities and it changing their life. And like I said, it has kind of isolated us in that way. I guess for me, the biggest negativity of putting myself there has been that it is isolating, because a lot of people, again, aren't out about it. And, so I think that's people's, biggest fear. I mean, we've gotten pretty lucky. Like I grew up pretty conservative. My family does know what I do, but it's never talked about any further than like just a business aspect. Like, they know I own an app. They know that I have done really well, that, I've been able to buy a home. My kids are happy, healthy, safe, all of that. It's like what goes on behind closed doors is nobody's business except for yours and your partner's. So you don't have to discuss. And that's what I always think is weird. A lot of people are like, what if my parents find out? And I was like, my response is be like, that's weird. Why do you care what I do behind closed doors? Like, that kind of shuts people up. So I think it's just, you have to reiterate that it's like what people do, and you might not agree with it, and that's totally fine. And it's okay to not agree with what some people do and how people live their lives. There's absolutely, I do not think non-monogamy is for everybody. But also, it's just really not anyone's business. So that's kind of what we tell people, is to just be like, hey, we're two consenting adults, and what we do is our business. So
since your app is so focused on women and really created for women, do you think the idea of women exploring their sexuality, exploring their sexual needs, especially in a conservative place like the Treasure Valley, is still seen as taboo or even threatening to the norm?
Absolutely. I mean, we were raised with a lot of people in the community were raised very conservative, religious, societal standards that we have to live up to with being wives and good mothers. And that's what we're, all we are. And a lot of women, I find out, later in their 30s, 40s, kind of their kids are a little bit older, they start to kind of explore that and have these thoughts and feelings. And there's so much guilt and shame around it. I actually know several therapists who are actually in the lifestyle, and I've met a lot of people, and, they talk about how many women are just so afraid to even like talk to their partners about things or feel so much shame about exploring this. And so, yes, I think it's very, very taboo. Um, and women don't really feel like they can. And the number one thing when I started my platform was that I just wanted other women to know they weren't alone and have a safe place. And the number one thing that I have people reach out to me all the time is like, you made me feel comfortable saying this out loud. You made me want to explore this or realize there were other people like me, things like that.
Candace, I'm very curious about this question. Do you think it's harder to explain swinging to conservative Idahoans who aren't in the lifestyle, or is it harder to explain Idaho to swingers or non-monogamous people in other states?
I think it's harder to explain Idaho. Really, it's just we get so many people that are like, "You live in Idaho? What do you, you know what we hear about Idaho? What do you do out there? There's swinging, there's people. Like people have no idea." But in a sense, yes, I think people don't understand lifestyle, but I don't think that's just Idaho. I don't think if you're not in the lifestyle or you haven't really explored it or done research, even if you're not in the lifestyle, I know a lot of people that don't like physically partake anything like that, but they've done kind of some research just because they're curious and understanding non-monogamy. But I think explaining Idaho and that there actually is a non-monogamous community here, and a little bit how liberal and open Boise itself, parts of Boise can be, but Idaho as a whole can be a little bit hard to hard to explain.
And what does success for your business look like for you? Maybe not just on the app, but for the broader conversation around sexuality and freedom in places like Idaho.
For me, it's just, again, giving women a safe place, and all these women that have told me over the years that they just appreciate having a place that they can be themselves and not feel alone and not feel crazy or that they're, doing something wrong, and they're seeing other people either have like success doing it, relationships being successful, supportive partners. I think it was for me, it was just for women to feel less alone.
Well, Candace, thank you so much. I really appreciate your candidness and joining me today to discuss this topic.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me.
That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe to our Hey Boise newsletter for another great way to keep up with what's happening around the Treasure Valley. We'll be back tomorrow morning with our Friday News Roundup. You won't want to miss it.